Welcome to the 90 Degree Show, the sports center for college marching bands where we recap the ultimate battles from this weekend. And now, here's our host, the Phantom Podcaster himself, Joe Beard.
Okay. All right. So I'm still messing with this stuff.
Yeah, you good
I
now.
was like,
We got
I was
you.
like,
We can hear you.
I was like, no, oh God, not again. Okay.
Start
All
your
right,
intro again, brother.
right. Let me start it again. So welcome to the 90 Degree Show. I'm your host. I'm your host, Joe Beard. Happy to be of service for you today. Today is September 2nd, 2024. What's this? 1:48 on the West Coast. And what's that? 4:48 on the East Coast? We appreciate all those if you are watching live or if you are watching the playback on one of our platforms. You can go to the website, themarchingpodcast.com, to learn all about us and to also find our playlists on YouTube. You can also donate there, but you'll also be seeing the little QR codes now with the new platform. I got some new toys, so I'm still messing with stuff. But I appreciate, again, all the support and love. And I really appreciate my panelists. So it's two doctors now. We got two doctors up in the house, which is super dope. And so let me introduce them one at a time. And I got my bubbles here. So on my right, I have the one and only Dr. Bridgette Bell. How you doing in this podcast?
Hey, Joe. I'm good. Hey, everybody. Hey, Marching Podcast. Hey, HBCU band head world. How y'all doing? Great to be back. Great to see everyone.
Well, thank you so much. And then the one and only Reverend Dr. Christy Rosa Walker Parks. How are you doing in this podcast?
I'm glad to be here in one piece. I've had a interesting past couple days, so yeah, I'm ready. But it's good to see everybody.
Well, thank you, and thank you always to you too, because I know we do a lot, getting everything in order, and so I always appreciate your time, especially your expertise. And I'm glad I got to know you guys, got to meet you guys. But yes, so we tried to do this on Saturday a couple days ago, and then it was just the man upstairs saying, "Yeah, you just need to get rid of it." So I've been using this thing to send out to multiple channels now, and so now I can actually go straight there and stream from here. And I've been working since we had the audio issues on Saturday. I'm putting the show together. So you might see some things. I'm still kind of messing with stuff, just like I started the show and had my mic muted. So as things roll along, it'll get better. But again, I appreciate your time. Yeah, don't forget to support the TMT merch store And then you can use your phone with the QR codes that pop up and you'll see, and it'll take you right there on your phone. All right. All right. So we are here now. And again, I appreciate the time. So we've got 2 Battle of the Bands that have happened in our marching season so far. We had the Pepsi National Battle of the Bands in Houston that Bridgette attended. And then yesterday was the Charlotte. Christy, do they still call it the Queen City Battle of the Bands?
No, that's a different group. The Queen City Battle Bands is now the Pepsi National Battle Bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But where I was yesterday was in Charlotte for the Labor Day Battle of the Bands. And I think this was the second or maybe third go around with it.
Okay. Okay. So and Christy was there yesterday. So, we actually had some boots on the ground, as they say. So we'll basically get into it. Bridgette, I'll start with you since Houston went first.
Yeah.
So Houston was Jackson State, Tuskegee, Bethune was there.
Yeah, but Bethune was there.
Miles
College. Go ahead. You doing good.
And Tennessee State.
Don't act like you don't know Southern was there. Don't play.
Oh, yes.
You gonna name your school first. Don't play with my boys.
I mean, because it's, but for all those who didn't see it, check out Rashad did the pre-analysis
right
for that. And so I guess it's gonna say the what you say? Oh, Texas. That's right. Texas Southern,
Prairie View,
and Prairie View, and Southern, and Southern, as they say.
You said you said Cookman, right?
Yep, Bethune. Yep. So it's gonna be real interesting. I guess I'll say that the boombox will be real interesting this year. So I'm really excited.
It's early too. So let me jump in real quick. First shout out Killer Kev. Hey, he's giving us a shout out. We see you. What's up, Killer Kev? And whoever scanned the QR code, thank you for whoever scanned. We appreciate the support. Hey, so if you're okay, I know that Rashad did the pre-analysis. Amazing. He always does an amazing job. If you guys are good with us talking about our experiences and just talking a little bit about, how we felt about the event and, kind of give some band shout outs and previews, at least that's the direction I kind of want to go in. If you're good, are you good? If y'all are good with that, that might be a good, because I know Christy had an experience yesterday too. So we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, those were, I think you named, I hope we didn't forget anybody because I wasn't kind of tracking. I think we named all 8 bands that was there in Houston.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you watch any of the battle? Did y'all see any of the battle or?
Yeah, I did. And I actually listened to it on the way down to Charlotte, to most of the bands on the way down. So.
Yeah. Let me say, I'm not sure the name of the promoter who's handling the event, but when I tell you they're doing a fantastic job of really putting that event together. So my experience, so shout out to my band brothers and the band directors who always take care of me. When I say they always take care of me, they always look out for their good sis. Y'all know I'm the only girl in the crowd, usually. Look, the female band director world. But they always kind of look out for me. And so the night before the battle, hung out with my good brothers from Southern University. Those are my guys. And while I was there, we sit down, eating, chilling, whatever. There was, I guess the promoters had a dedicated person who was the host for each band. Not sure if all battles do this. This was my first time kind of seeing that. I really like it. It was their logistical person, made sure that they were good, followed them all the way. Let me tell you, by the time we got to the stadium, they all had headsets on. They was telling people when to go, when to stop, whatever. They were all communicating. Now, all of them, it was so funny because I was like, did all y'all go to Southern? Were all y'all in the band? I was like, oh, so I'm not sure Christy, who's the person who's the official sponsor? I know they have official sponsor, but who's the promoter? Do you know who the person is? They told me his name. I can't remember.
For Houston, Weber? Yeah. You're talking about Weber.
It must be Weber.
Mm-hmm. I think it's Weber Entertainment. Yeah.
Weber Entertainment.
Eric Weber.
Yeah. You said they're good?
Derek Weber.
Derek
Yeah.
Weber.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the name they told me. I'm not familiar with Derek. But when I tell you kudos, outstanding job from what we could see on the other, and I got to kind of see some of the backstage stuff. It was, starting on time. Matter of fact, they had a little pre-show before, had the little
Uh-oh.
theater perform ahead of time. Like they had it. Hey y'all, they had hey y'all in the chat. We see you. What's up? We had a lot of people, they had a lot of bodies and people to kind of move. And so my experience kind of went like this. So it was hot. Y'all know Houston was like hot, like, and I don't ever complain about heat, but baby, it was hot. And they were all in the kind of the parking lot lined up. They started moving them bands inside the stadium about 1:00. They start strategically putting them inside. The show started at 3:30, but I think, who didn't I see? Maybe Cookman must have been the first band to go inside, and then Southern, then so they had them marching and ready to go. But they had their person with them, headset, boom, everybody bracelets. They had them in a kind of an enclosed off area. All the bands were kind of back there, because everybody want to kind of see or whatever. And they had them all going. The last band to come in was Texas Southern, and so they had them going in, I guess, kind of like performance order a little bit in the reverse. So the bands that went last were performing last, went in first. They were the first in the stand battle, but the bands performing first, they were the last ones to go in, which was Miles, Skegee, and Tuskegee, and Texas Southern were the last ones to kind of go into the tunnel. So I went in the tunnel with Texas Southern. Shout out to Texas Southern. Shout out to my brother, Dr. Javon Pilot. We're going to talk about him. Come on, arrangements. Come on down. So shout out to Texas Southern. But I went in with, when they went in, through the backstage, and they had them kind of staging, because the first three bands, they already wanted them in the staging area. It was a long process, a long time for bands, but there's so many things people don't see on the backside of band. That's going to be kind of my standpoint that y'all don't know. So as I look at the chat boards and stuff, my positioning has changed a whole lot, somewhat, a little bit. Because one, when you're a director, but then we go to directors, so all staff and kind of seeing things from different perspectives and talking to other people, it kind of shows you a few things. So I'm thinking about, for instance, Miles College, who came there 16 hours on a bus. Let's start there, y'all. Like, I'm not built like that. Over 40, I ain't built like that. Like, babies, like somebody was like, hey, do you miss being on staff and da-da-da? And I thought about them bus rides, and I'm like, y'all, first of all, my 9 to 5, I had my 9 to 3, whatever. Let me tell y'all something. 3:15, baby, I'm coming home and I'm done. These guys are up. Their job is just starting about 3:00, and they getting home 1:00 in the morning. And then you have a whole weekend of bus stuff. And that's the stuff people don't see. And they don't care about, but I do. Because one, those are my friends. But I also know that's all part of the magic that happens. Like they're putting magic out on the field. And so that's all a part of that happens. So you think about Miles College, who should have took 13 hours. They end up in an accident or something. Thank you for scanning the QR code.
Miles was in an accident?
No, they weren't. Somebody else was in an accident on the Beltway.
So so they were stuck. Okay.
Yeah, so 16 hours, they had to ride overnight on the bus. Now, I will say this to promoters. It is tough for these bands to ride all night on the bus. That's tough. And I know we had to do it when we were in college. Thank you. Hey, Kayla Bell. Hey, little sis. Hey, Chance, what's up? It was hot. It was good to see Chance Bill. Shout out to Howard University's new band director, soon to be Dr. Mills. Like, I gotta give my shout out to my people. I see y'all in the chat. So either way, get back to the conversation at hand. It was so you think about a band like Miles College, and they've been on the bus 16 hours, get off the bus, have to go practice right off the bus. Get a little bit something to eat, a little bit of rest, and boom, you in the hot sun, and baby, it was blazing out there in those wool uniforms, then got to go put on a show. And then y'all want to talk about mistakes people making after only have taken people had maybe 2 weeks to get it together. All things considered, I'm going to say this: outstanding jobs to all the bands. That's really my preference for saying whatever. You think about a band like Texas Southern, who had performance after performance. They only had a short time. They just coming out of band camp. I think they just started school last week.
Yeah.
They're coming right fresh out of band camp. This is truly their band. So Brian Simmons, Javon Pollard, I think Beryl is still on staff. All those guys, this is truly their band now. So this is their fourth year with this group. So these are their kids. And they have done a phenomenal job recruiting. Baby, them jokers sound good. I'm going to tell you now, they're playing. And he has some musicians on that staff who are arranging. They sound good. They're going to be glips and stuff on the field. Like the stuff that people post in pictures, I don't even care about because I'm thinking about the hard work that these directors put behind. Look, we can post some pictures of some of y'all too while y'all sitting there posting stuff. Look, post your pictures. Look, and that's straight face. Post your pictures. Let me talk to your section leader. Let's talk about your freshman, your crab year. Let's talk about that. Then get somewhere and sit down. It's just people are doing too much. And so all things considered, it was a good battle. I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but I want to start with that preface that I have nothing negative to say about any of them bands. And I just want to give a huge kudos to the band directors and their staff. So that's my starting point.
Yeah. And that was something that I know that the first thing off the gate, like even like Rashad and I was talking about, I mean, it's 2 weeks in really, I guess, for a lot of those programs. Cause I know that band camp always starts like early August. So they put together something at the end of August, and then it's supposed to be like one of the, if not the major performance that you're gonna do against some other major programs. So I did give a lot of props to the directors for putting together what they did in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't imagine you learning something and then to have that level of competition for 2 weeks, especially like learning the music. Because you gotta put together a show, you gotta do all of that stuff. So I wanted to say that too. We definitely have to give the directors and even the students too putting it together. And I didn't realize, and I guess that makes sense because you talking about miles. I guess that they didn't fly on a plane, but yeah, they rode a long way to get out there to Houston. So it sounded like, and because I've watched some of the stuff on like YouTube now, but everybody did a good job, and a lot of people are sounding really good. So I definitely want to give the directors and everybody, just a lot of support for being so early. I wish that, I don't know, I guess we could get into that later, but I wish that these two competitions, if you will, were later. I know the Honda was always at the end, so you had who was in the band all year, and who was there at the end. Maybe some people who are marching now, they may not make it to the end. Like, you had it at a good time of the year. And with this being so early, I'm not really like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that just yet.
I agree with you, Joe. It's a great preview, but I would dare say, so I'm looking at Oscar, I agree. It was a great experience. Houston is a great experience all around. I see your comment in the chat. But when I would dare say, and Chrissy, you can kind of chime in on this one. I would dare say, so y'all know, I'm just gonna say I'm not a huge fan of Honda. Y'all know that. I would dare say, and for various reasons, I would dare say that this Battle of the Band is the premier band. Like, I think it's the best battle that you're gonna get all year. I agree with you. I wish it was later. I wish it was in a spot where Honda is kind of resting themselves now, because that would be way crazy. But I think, one, I was nervous about it. We talked a little bit about this offline. I was nervous about when it moved from Charlotte to Houston. Like, why y'all doing that? But baby, Houston is like, they come through. That area, that area down there, that south region is a great venue. I just wish it was at a different time. But I'm gonna go on record and say a couple of things that you probably never heard me say. First of all, Tuskegee, come through. I was nervous when I was like, why y'all got Tuskegee? Why y'all gonna do that to Tuskegee? Is what I said. That's exactly what I said when I walked out. I was like, man, at least they first, they can go ahead and get out the way. Baby, Tuskegee put on a show. I would put them in my top 3 to 4 bands for shows. They did a great job. I'm gonna say kudos to their director, who he's a FAMU guy, but they don't look like FAMU. And I'm saying that, yes, with a little bit of shade. He's not trying to make them FAMU. He's making them Tuskegee, a better Tuskegee. Kudos to Tuskegee. They did a great show. If you haven't watched their show, they didn't try to change, try to match, whatever. Man, this has been the best. I agree with you, Daryl. Best Tuskegee I've seen. Prof Jamal, yes, he did it. They look good, they sound good. And they were like, oh, we were the little guys. Don't matter. It wasn't even size. You did a great job. Kudos to Tuskegee. But SWAC, I'm trying to tell you, I said it to my dad and them at lunch today. SWAC is band world. It's no other. It's like, how is everybody good? Like, how is everybody just blow for blow? The SWAC bands is just like, what in the world? It's crazy. SWAC world's gonna be crazy this year. Nobody can sleep on anybody. I'm gonna say that right now. I see great bands. I see a great standing in front of Southern. First of all, I'm gonna say this. I wouldn't want to be in nobody's band and stand in front of Southern. Boom, I said it. No, what y'all are just woo. Them arrangements, goodness gracious. But that power that they punch, oh my goodness. And you have a Dr. Kedrick Taylor who's also musical. I want Southern alumni to get off of him and let them do, when they balance that musicality and that power, woo, they will be reckless. Jackson State is going, they kind of, I love Jackson State, let me say that, but I see some shifts with them. So it's going to be interesting to see where they land, but they still bringing it. But SWAC bands, y'all, whew, they ain't nothing to mess with. I'm from the MEAC world, and the land of MEAC is not, I guess we'll rest ourselves on football or something, because band is not really the highlight, but I see why they're doing this battle down that area.
So Christy, I'm gonna go ahead and let you get in there, because I know that a lot of the folks. What did you think about the turnout from as far as what you saw, as far as like the videos and stuff like that from Houston, and just anything overall that you thought about Houston?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I've been following bands for a long, long time, and I can't say this every year, but I'm going to say it this year. This year is a really good year for HBCU bands. I don't say that every year. I've been through the ups and downs and the highs and the lows over the years, but I think overall this is a very good year for the culture. I think that, there are bands that are sizing up, and that doesn't necessarily mean just because they are larger in size, that doesn't automatically make them great.
Right.
But, as a whole, I see some of these bands just, like we'll say Tuskegee, for example, is huge. And there's a lot of these bands are sleeper bands. Tuskegee, even North Carolina Central, which, that pains me to say as an Aggie alum, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Like them, Fayetteville State, I saw them last night. Elizabeth City State, some SIAC, and did I say Fort Valley? Fort Valley's another school. So, I just think overall it's a really good year for band. Even Howard is, I saw some clips of Howard today yesterday, and it was really good. So I think overall as a culture, I think that this is a really good year for band. I have some things to say about the event that took place yesterday, the Labor Day Battle of the Bands. But you're asking me about Houston, and what I heard is pretty much agreeable to what Bridgette said. I mean, you can never sleep on the SWAC anyway. You can never sleep on the SWAC. In addition to that, I think where a lot of bands end up messing up is when they try to out Southern. And I think it's just really important that these bands be the best blank that they can be, instead of trying to out Southern when Southern comes to your event. It takes so much to put on these shows. Like Bridgette said, it's so funny that she brought that up, because I got to hear about all of the things. We kind of had a series of unfortunate events happened yesterday, and it just made me realize how much these people work behind the scenes, like how much manpower, how much woman power it takes to get these shows off and running, the transportation, the logistics, the food, the everything. And I just also want to say hi to the people in the chat, lots of familiar faces, and I'm just really looking forward to things this year in the band world. I will say that, of the shows, and me and my good friend Daryl, he's talking in the chat as well. We went together to the event yesterday, and on the way down, we were listening to the bands that were in Houston, and there were some that were better than we expected. There were some that I was like, we needed a little work, but at the same time, this is August. This is not like,
August.
I think people need to, be realistic in their expectations. And, especially for us band heads who remember when we marched, like we weren't on all cylinders in August.
No.
So why should we expect these other groups to be that way as well?
Baby, I was still tired. I was still tired in August, trying to get over my summer cookout schedule. I could barely get my legs up. So
right, exactly. So I mean, there's so much work that goes behind the scenes, and I'm thinking that most of the people that listen to this podcast on the regular know that, because we're in that field. But shout out to the directors. I saw Torre on here. He's the director of bands at Clark Atlanta University. Got to see him yesterday along with the rest of their staff. And I mean, these bands are the small bands are small but mighty. Like nobody's terrible this year. I'm just really looking forward to the season, and especially like when it gets about mid to the end of September, where people work out the kinks, and people are getting in stride, and it's about to be homecoming season, and just I'm looking forward to a lot of things. I know, Joe, that you asked me, like, did I have any comments specific to the individual bands from what I saw and what I heard. There were some mishaps in some performances, but I mean, I'm going to give a little grace. Because it's August, and hopefully, the mistakes can be corrected. Now, if they're still doing the same kind of stuff this time next month, then we can talk a little trash. But yeah, for them to have to put this together in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, y'all, that's no joke. I could not be a band director, and I will gladly tell somebody.
I know,
that.
right?
I could not be a band. I give, when I see these directors, and I talked to a lot of them yesterday, I was like, I could not do what you do. So shout out to y'all.
Yeah, let me give them a round of applause.
I have a question for Christy too. After we give a round of applause.
Oh yeah, I had to find it. We back.
Hey, Christy. So I have a question. So I was trying to hang in there with y'all for a little bit, but my bedtime is 9 o'clock because I'm not a director of bands anymore. Mm-hmm. So the event started late. What happened? Like, what time did it start? Like, what happened? Because it was like a lot.
Okay.
I was watching Curtis. Look, I'm here for the tea. So I know Curtis was on, and I was like, what's going on? Like, everybody was like, it's not starting, rain, blah, blah. And I saw you saying you going back to your car. I was like, what? So I was like, let's get the story. I need the story. What happened?
Okay. Well, since you asked, I'll be glad to let you know. So it was the Battle of the Bands was a part of a weekend of events. Like, it was chock full of activities and things. And so yesterday on Sunday, they had a fan fest, which this was before the event. So the event was supposed to start at 6:30 p.m. And so earlier in that day, in that afternoon, there was a fan fest where they had, like vendors, and they had high school performances, like, dance troops and percussion, and it was a percussion battle all earlier in the day. Now, when I talk about series of unfortunate events, I'm talking about mainly the weather. So when the fan fest was going on, weather was hot, but it was sunny. It was hot, but no precipitation. By the time it got to that late afternoon, evening, the clouds started rolling in. And so the doors opened at 5. We were let in at 5. And I'm sitting down in my seat. You know, after being in that hot sun, I started not to feel a little good. You know, I started to feel really bad. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna put like my personal business. I'll do that on my like personal my personal life. But yeah, I was feeling kind of bad just because of combination of like the weather and things. So the event was supposed to start at 6:30, and by the time, I'm gonna say, and my times may be a little off, but like 6 o'clock rolls around, you can see off in the distance of the Charlotte skyline. It's getting darker and darker and darker. And so I knew there was a chance of storms and everything. Everybody brought their ponchos. But I think about 6:30 or so, the announcer gets on the PA system and is like, well, first they flash it on they have a Jumbotron. So they flash on the Jumbotron, 15-minute delay. And so then they're like, okay, due to Charlotte ordinance, yada, 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 the lightning, the lightning, you could see the lightning in the background. And the guy on the PA said, we must evacuate the stadium.
What?
Yeah, we have to evacuate the stadium. So there is, and I'm like, I'm not feeling good, and then this happened. So they started to evacuate the stadium. We all went out into the area outside the stadium, and there's a parking deck area. And long story short, the bands did not start until, because of the rain, because the storm moved in and it was lightning a little bit, and then it started raining, no lightning. The event didn't really kick off until 8:55. But
what, really?
Okay. In the meantime, so it's raining, it's storming outside, and it was a sold out event. And most of the people, a big chunk of the people started to go home. Y'all know how we do and everything. And so there next to the stadium it's like a gym. And that's where the bands were being housed in the meantime, like between, the schedule, that's where they were being housed and fed and all that good stuff. So me and my friend Daryl, who's in the chat, we end up moseying to the gym area. I think it was probably about 7:30 when we went in there. And in the meantime, while people were waiting for the weather to clear out or whatever, there were bands in there battling. So there was a 3-way battle between, I believe, Winston-Salem State, Clark Atlanta, and I think Fayetteville State, or maybe it was Elizabeth City. Anyway, there were 3 bands in there like battling, and you can see like the clips. I feel like Smash Time was there, and then I don't know if it was Showtime went, but anyway, so they were in there battling. By the time I got in there, and my friend Daryl, Valley and Talladega were set up in there.
Oh,
they started battling, and boy, I mean, I know it was raining, and I mean, I would have preferred to see a field show, but in that gym, it gave me all the ignorance I needed. It gave me all that I wanted, right? Okay. So yeah, shout out to the directors there. And it was a late stop. It was a late start. Akila, I think a lot of the frustration was, the promoters, they put a lot of money into this. And if you have to officially cancel an event, then you've got to refund people.
Yeah.
And too many wheels were in motion. And so, you're frustrated with it because there's nothing you can do. You can't change the weather. But at the same time, it's like, dang, you don't want to refund. So I understand where they're coming from. I get it. And I feel like the promoters kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place just because of that. Because I get it. I would not want to cancel my event. At the same time, I probably wouldn't want to have it in an outdoor stadium too. And then, there's that talk of like, okay, well, the acoustics are better in an outdoor stadium. It's this whole thing, I don't want to go down that road. But the highlight for me that evening was Talladega and Valley battling in the gym. And man, my ears were ringing. I saw some very interesting things in that battle. But then after they finished their part, by that time it was 8:55, and I think Winston-Salem was the first band, and these bands went out there in the rain and performed in the rain. So I was miserable when I would have to march in the rain in that hot suit, and like I would be miserable. So that's why I'm saying, like, man, we got to give grace to these folks, because I just remember marching back in my day and being miserable, and like we had these hot raincoats. We don't even have, like, nowadays they have like the thin clear ponchos. No, we didn't have that. We had these hot insulated coats.
Right.
Yeah. I couldn't deal. So the bands ended up the bands, with the exception of Valley and Clark, actually went out on the field, performed in the rain. By this time it's rain. It's a good, steady, hearty rain that's happening. No lightning, thank God, but still raining. So they performed those shows in the rain. And I mean, as you're right, as a woodwind player, myself, those pads, on your instrument, and so I give all those bands props, because listening to those clips on the way home, everybody sounded pretty solid. And so I don't want to hear complaints about, oh, this band didn't do such and such and such, because it was a lot going on. And then there was also drama with, like, food and just a little behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, that's basically what happened.
So let me ask you this, Christy. So this was in Charlotte, so that's Memorial Stadium, right?
Yes.
That's where y'all were. So you said it's a gym next to the stadium. Were you able to see the bands from the stadium?
From the state, okay, was I able to see the bands from the stadium in the gym? No, okay. So I will say that you had to walk in there, and the public wasn't allowed in there. Shout out to the staff members. Shout out to Warren Shaw, who's assistant director at Clark Atlanta, who let me and Daryl in. So this was not public.
Oh, really?
In the arena. I mean, now there were all the camera people in there. Shout out to Gerard Howard from Marching Sport, who I only see once in a blue moon, but that's my boy. Shout out to him. He was in there. Smash Time was in there. Bam Raw was in there. I am probably forgetting somebody. Please.
I think Killer Kev was in there. I think.
Oh, I didn't see Kev at all, because I
know Killer Kev. Yeah, he was over there too.
Well, he was somewhere in the area, but I didn't see him in the gym when I was in there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's how it happened, and yeah, it was some good battling there. I got my life, but it was some of the things. Of course, you can't help the weather. Of course, you can't help it.
Yeah, you can't help the weather, but I think that's I'm thinking, as go band director mode. My nerves would have probably been shot as a band director, though, because how did you plan for the weather?
Right.
So if you have an outdoor stadium, it's not like Houston, they have a retractable stadium. It's closed anyway. But if it rains and it lightens and you can't, whatever, you bought these bands from, as far as who was
Mississippi
/ Cookman, all them, you have all these bands come up. What are you going to do? How are you going to, I think that's a part of that logistical planning. Curtis kind of was speaking to that today, to that logistical process of what happens if, and so on and so on. Like, what are you going to do? I think that's a part of it. So everybody wants to battle the bands, right?
Yep.
I'm a whole nother music business is a real industry. I need people to get degrees in it and become professionals in it. Everybody wants to market, and I'm saying, y'all know I'm big on this. Like, this how we started, Joe. We started with me talking about these kind of conversations. Everybody wants bands, and everybody's trying to monopolize off of HBCU bands. That's like the thing, because everybody see that it's big and it should be something, but you don't realize how much it costs to move a band, how much logistics it involves. So you try to do stuff like all these promoters. That's why I had to give a huge prop to the Houston band directors. You can tell they're like band people for real or whatever. But everybody wants to bring in bands and do these huge events or whatever. But a lot of people aren't prepared because they haven't prepared. You know, there's things that they don't think about. You got to have some band directors in there on the planet to talk to you about, look, if it's pouring down and I got woodwind instruments, we can't perform. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, what's the secondary venue? When you saw that weather report had a chance of rain, Christy, you called it. It was like, it's probably gonna be a chance of rain. Da-da-da.
She did. She said that last third or Saturday, I think.
Yep.
We were
You said it's exactly. So somebody on that other side should have been having that conversation when Charlotte Battle of the Bands was there. When they were having it, then it was the same thing. It would rain, and so whatever. So who's going to do what? I think that's another part of that conversation, because it's disrespectful to the directors, and it's a lot. Like, what if you had to cancel because you couldn't get it off, and then you have all these bands here, people got to get paid, and we're not even going to talk about the number of shiesty promoters that's bands.
And I'm not saying that these people are shiesty. I'm not saying that. Let me put that out there.
I don't think that. Yeah, I didn't get that from your conversation.
Yeah, but I just want to say that it ain't no joke to playing a battle of the bands. It ain't no joke. It's not for the light, not for the the faint at heart. People used to tell me all the time, Christy, we want a fifth quarter battle of the bands. No, I'm good. Thanks. No, I just travel because I know I don't chase waterfalls. I stick to the rivers and the lakes that I'm used to. Like, I know I couldn't do it. Not the way my anxiety is set up. Like, I couldn't do it. And for the people who can, that's awesome. That is awesome. But it's just not my thing. I give all props to them. And as a fan, like, okay, Bridgette is a music educator. She's got that education. She's got the experience, all that stuff. I give all the props to them. I don't want to act like I'm them. I don't want to pretend like I'm them. I'm a fan. So, it just takes a lot. And you have to have that contingency plan, because
got to.
I mean, we talk about how, we complain about your Mercedes-Benz Stadium and your the Houston Stadium. I can't think of the name right now. That is, like a dome, and it's huge because it's holding these big NFL events. At the same time, it's covered. It's covered. So,
Yeah.
So shout out to all the people in the chat that's helping tell the story. And it's a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while. What's up, brother Peete? What's going on? I see Oscar Wright up in there. David Norman, what's up, man? So it's good to see y'all. And they're basically, as you guys can see in the chat, they're basically agreeing with you about the plan. I didn't even really, that's so crazy, because when I first got out here to California, I wanted to do something. I was like, we got to have something out here. And so I can't even imagine if something not going right after they done traveled all this way. But I didn't even think something like that was going to happen. When you said rain, I was just like, oh, okay, it's going to rain. But that was cool that you were afforded to be able to go in the gym and check it out. So there were just a lot of people that were just in the stands, Christy, for all that time.
Well, there were a lot of people. There was a parking deck, and that's where I had parked, and a lot of other people were parked. So they were in the parking deck. Like, there was a period of time that, like, I was tired. I was feeling weary. I told y'all I wasn't feeling well earlier. And Daryl and I was like, I just need to sit in my car for a little bit in the AC. And so we did that for a little bit. But yeah, there were people now there were some that stuck it out. It was quite a few. Like, I met quite a few band parents there. So one of their kids is in the band, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna stay so I can see my baby, So there were quite a few people there, but then there were mostly hanging out in that parking deck area, and some just was like, forget it, I'm going home. And I don't blame them, but the event went on, and so you can't request a refund when the event
Yeah,
actually
right.
went on. Yep. That happened to me earlier this summer, like at a baseball game, like, bought tickets for a Durham Bulls game, and it got rained out, and they it got delayed, big time delay. And by the time the game went on, I was just like, no, I'm at home. I'm good. So, but yeah.
Wow. That's wow. Okay. So I guess other than the bands we talked about, would you say, it was, I don't know, was it a success, or like what do you think? What do you think, Christy?
All things being considered, I do think it was a success because the bands did eventually get to go on. They did eventually do their shows. I mean, the clips that I heard driving on the way back, everybody sounded great, and there were people in the stands. It wasn't like it was completely empty or anything. And I do also want to say that for that event, so they did renovation on that stadium a couple years ago, and I think it was during about the time that that Queen City decided to move to Houston, and
Uh-huh.
so now it's a smaller stadium because they added like press boxes and things. With that said, they played to both sides, like, and that just really bugs me. They do it at Honda, and they do it at other events, and they play to both sides. So one band gets one side, one band, like, why? Just no. That just really bugs me. So Rashida's asking me, didn't see any field shows? No, I didn't see any field shows. I didn't. And that was just what it was, unfortunately. So I'm gonna be watching just like y'all on YouTube to see what I can see. But I mean, let me just say that, like, I enjoyed my time in that arena. That gave me all the ignorance I wanted. I should have stayed. I should have went in there when Elizabeth City and those folks were in there. I should have done that, but I didn't realize like how close it was or whatever. But no, I didn't see any field shows, unfortunately.
Wow, that was my next question. Shout out to you, Rashida. I've seen Rashida. I don't know if I've seen her a lot. That's the other cool thing, I guess, about this whole internet thing is that once you know one person, you see a whole bunch of friends of others, and so I've seen Rashida. I don't know where Rashida went to school, but I've seen her like everywhere.
In
Okay.
Norfolk State, percussion, yep.
Okay, so yeah, I see her. So shout out to her. And what's going on with the Lamik's videos?
If you were actually in the skybox for once in your life, you would have met her because she's a regular patron of the skybox. Yes.
That's all right. That's all right. But hopefully all y'all will be in California. You know what I'm saying? Because the was trip was a little bit much, but that's not going to be my excuse moving forward. So we'll see how that goes.
We had a little bit of this conversation. I don't know if you're going to see Bridgette at the hunt in California, y'all. Well, that's a whole nother conversation. But before I talk about that, shout out to Double Dr. Will Irvin. I see you.
Hey.
On. Shout out to Tuskegee Band Director. I see you on here, sir. You have to do the playback so you can hear us talk about you, Dr. Nichols. Great job to you as well. But
Tuskegee is on the way up, man.
He's on the way up. But I'm as we talk about the logistics and everything else and a battle of the bands or whatever, I'm struggling with the Honda model in California. So the more I hear about it, the more I'm kind of like, I think I'll ride this out on the web.
I know that hurts too. Cause when Christy called me, I guess that was March when she called me and told me, I'm still excited because some people are gonna make it, but that's just something as for any of these folks that that are out here west-wise. I know a couple people that are from HBCUs that's from in Arizona or in California. I mean, the culture isn't out here, And so anytime you can bring something out here, it's exciting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping it's gonna be a success. But yeah, those ticket prices it is a little bit of a turnoff with that. And I'm hoping to see as many people as I can. So for all the people that's coming, I'm definitely hoping that I can reach out and meet to some of y'all.
Between the tickets, flights, hotel, I mean, that's a whole European vacation, if you ask me. let me highlight Europe or somewhere. I mean, I'm looking at $500 for a plane ticket. How much other for a good Honda seat? The bands have to reduce their sizes. You know, I don't want to call the collapse of a battle of the bands, but Honda, this isn't looking. You know, I don't see how it's going to make fiscal sense. But it'll be interesting to see how this ends. I will say that.
I'm wondering if they got a plan. Maybe they have a plan or something. I mean, I'm not sure.
They might have $1 million backer who willing to, you know, somebody who got some big money who wants to see this really happen. You know, that's a lot of money to move bands out to California. I will say that, and then not get the crowd. Like, I don't know if the culture is there. That's a part of it. Like, is the culture really there in order to fill a stadium or to get that quantity back in order to make your money? I don't know. It's not my pockets, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Honda, but I think I'll be watching it via the media guys. Unless somebody want to sponsor Dr. Bridgette, y'all want to sponsor me? Go ahead and scan the QR code that you see.
All right. All right.
You can sponsor the Marching podcast trip to California. I don't even know if I have it in me for that 5-hour flight. I'm telling you.
Well, I haven't been to LA in like 10 years. So I'll be going to Honda. I'm gonna go. My whole thing is that I haven't been on the West Coast, well, like in California technically in 10 years. And so, you know, my thing for 2015 is that 2025, that I want to go and travel and, you know, see some things, because it's a big birthday for me that year, and so I'm just trying to, you know, enjoy life. It's a new adventure. I work hard. I'll
There
go
you
to
go.
Honda.
There you go. Well, we definitely have something planned for you, so you have a good California experience. And Bridget, yeah, hopefully you can make it, so we can all be in one place at one time. That was, you know, that's what I'm hoping for. And
I think I'm gonna have to pull a Joe for this event.
oh, that's all right. That's all right. You know what I'm saying? That's all right. Hopefully it ain't gonna be like that from this moving forward. Like, you know, it'll be a past memory where they're like, oh well, Joe had all of them. You know, that's what I'm hoping.
Come on here. We're gonna claim that. We're gonna claim that for you, my good brother.
There you go.
I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna have to ride off the podcast in a minute. All I'm gonna say is I'm with Christy. This is gonna be an amazing band year. I'm seeing some great things from our HBCU bands. Y'all, come on now. Y'all, look, 2 weeks in. 2 weeks after band camp, I'm seeing some great potential. Shout out to these directors and staff and all the people that's making this magic happen, all the people who are sponsoring and supporting them. Like, that is outstanding. Peete, that's all your question about how do you plan for a band if it's going to rain. You know, it's different when it's on your pocket, number one. And your university, it's a whole different thing. So when it rained, we had rain jackets or whatever. But if it got too much, guess what? We went inside the band room and we were at home.
Yeah,
we had to worry about hotels and blah blah blah. It's a totally different logistics. And even if we were at a away game, we're gonna go back and get on them buses and we can go home or whatever. So it's a totally different ball game when you are, you know, logistically, when you're coming from a staff point. It's totally different than when you're at a battle bands and you're waiting for your paycheck too. Like, you can't just I just can't pull my band because guess what? That's my paycheck because they're paying them bands to be there. So it's logistically, it's a whole different thing. So I just want to say that. But I'm excited to see some bands. You know, I did get a chance to see a little bit of Hampton. Come on now, Recruitment. Dr. Jones did some Recruitment. Them numbers are way up. Sounded pretty good. Saw Morgan State, of course. Shout out to my own M3. It's a different day, different venue, but shout out to them as well. It's different day. New uniforms, all kind of things happening. Different look. But I had to give a shout out to all the bands because all the directors are doing their best. And for that, we have to give you a shout out. So y'all give some grace. Poteet, get your folks you on here, get your folks. Get your folks in that uncut group. They showing out. You hear me? And some of them acting like they ain't marched with 2 left feet and dropped their mouthpiece and everything. We got clips on YouTube from a few years ago. Stop playing.
Yep,
like,
deduction. Deduction. In the words of Curtis, deduction.
Deduction. Stop playing with these people. Stop playing with these kids, like, and these directors. Like, and that's one thing I have to get people to realize too. And I know we do things in fun and jest, but a lot of these directors are in here, and some of y'all be slamming them day after day. I be like, come on, y'all. Like,
and these kids are built different. They different from us. We can't expect them to be the same as when we march. That's another thing. They on some other stuff, and
but even with that, it's a different day. I can't. If maybe we'll do a show comparing our thoughts from when we marched back in blah 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 versus now. I think bands are better. I'm gonna say that. I think the bands, from what I'm saying, I think bands are better. If I'm honest, I think bands are better now. And guess what? Directors are doing more with kids who aren't even. I didn't wake up and eat Takis and blah 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 and eat junk all crap and then have to go do a show. We were built different, but the directors they're doing more with less. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, I think that too. And I think that's happening in education in general. It's a lot more professional development, and it's a lot more things that's helping. Okay, this happened. So now, how do we fix all the stuff that has happened up to this point? So things always progress over time. So I definitely believe that. And I probably think that the virus had a little bit something to do with a lot of stuff. So you lost some folks, and I think you probably got some folks coming back. So I think, and a lot of what you guys were saying as far as things looking good this year, I think probably everybody's getting back in their full swing. I remember still when directors were saying, we had a class on Zoom. And I was like, what? Like, you had a band class on Zoom? I'm still trying to formulate how that works. Like, you were listening and they were making a sound, like everybody, like you can't hear the person.
Yeah, that's when I had to come out. I was like, oh, that was my time. I was like, would you like to promote? Yes. Because that's when I wasn't built for band on Zoom. I'm not built for band on Zoom. So shout out for the ones who stuck it through.
Right.
When they offer that promotion, would you like to be a specialist for? Yes, absolutely. Because those who stuck it out, oh my gosh, Joe. So I'm glad you even mentioned that. That's a whole different realm.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like things is moving on the up and up. So I'm glad that y'all were there. So we getting close to the end. Because we basically explained what happened. And Christy, you definitely had a good story as far as what happened there in Charlotte. So we can I guess we can land the show, and we'll be back to be talking about a lot more things. I do want to give a round of applause here. I'm still working out the audios and getting as quick as it can, but for all those that actually can see it, I am giving a round of applause. I do want to give that to the directors, like you say, also the media people that are filming this stuff, and then also the students themselves, and also all you people in the chat room. The chat has been real good today, giving a lot of insight and everything. So I appreciate the love and everything. So Christy, I'll let you go ahead, I guess, and give your ending points, if you will, on everything and anything that you wanted to add moving forward.
Okay. Well, I will say that it's easy to complain from the cheap seats. You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think this is a great year for bands, and I don't say that every year. There's a lot of growth going on. This is I've been around long enough to see the passing of the baton, per se, and so like I'm just really proud of these directors. And now I'm getting to the point where these directors are younger than me. They used to be like my dad's age, and now they're younger than me, and I'm like, oh, I can't deal. But yeah, lots of growth this year. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing because Christy couldn't do it.
That's what's up. Bridgette, anything you want to say to round out the show?
That's it. Thank you all, first of all, everybody in the chat, for joining us. We love engaging with you. Oscar, what you sipping on? Because you tripping over there in this chat. I'm laughing. I agree with Joe. Shout out to the media teams. You can't forget all of our buddies, and I got to see the Rogers brothers last weekend. Killer Kev, Showtime. I hate to start calling them because there's so many of you, but you all
It's a
have
lot.
changed. You have revolutionized and changed the game. Like, we can see stuff almost in the moment, most of the time in the moment, and that's phenomenal. It raises the level of bands also, because people think they're gonna get a new show and new music every week. Like, y'all really thought people were gonna do a new show from Houston to their first game this week? Come on, people, stop whatever you smoking, stop it, because that ain't happening. As a director, it ain't happening, because you didn't like the show they did in Houston. It had errors, but you want them to move on. No, you go back and fix it, make it better, and boom, your crowd will get it because nobody else has seen it. So yeah, boom, that's what they go. But shout out to the directors. Shout out to my team members right here on the Marching Podcast. We're excited to be back to talk to you all. Thank you to all those people who support bands financially, and who make the culture rich. You know, we're excited to see what happens this year.
All right. And yeah, I definitely can co-sign to all of the things that both of y'all were saying. Yeah, I'm just really interested to see how things pan out this year. I think the bar has been set, or like a good tone has been set so far this year. So I'm excited to see how things pan out. But that's a trip. I'm still like surprised, and that's the other cool thing. I'm glad that we had somebody there with what happened in Charlotte. That's like, wow, that's a lot. So, you know, to think about them people that were just in the stands all of that time. I guess finding somewhere where it's closed, like a dome, or you could do a lot of stuff in California, because it don't ever rain out here.
You just rain
California. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I try to do what I can, because, you know, the weather is super dope out here. But yeah, that's cool. And Bridgette, for any of y'all that's following Bridgette on Facebook or social media, she actually gave a little synopsis on her page that was pretty good, which helps out a lot. So, you know, y'all go ahead and follow or subscribe to Bridgette on there.
We appreciate you. Shout out to Brian Dawes. I see you. And Charles Connor, we see you. Brian Dawes, you're a Ranger, brother. Great job. You're doing great work over there at Miles.
Yeah. Hey, always shout out to Miles. I love Miles, man. And I think Snipes. Yeah, Brother Snipes. I interviewed Brother Knowles one time. So you guys can find that. And I see the Edge on there. So I'm excited to see him. Garrett, I met Garrett. I think I met him on one of the films, one of the songs he taped, and I reached out to him, and it was pretty dope. And so when he was putting his stuff together, I was letting him use the domain space for the marchingpodcast.com, and he took that, and he was on there like probably a couple months, and then he saw it out to his own page, and then he's now doing everything for Southern. And he's actually got a really good story. Y'all can see that chopping it up, Garrett Edgerson. He's got a good story because of what went on with Katrina and all of that. That was amazing. Yeah. So that's pretty good.
I love people insights, Joe. Like when he shared it, he like gave like a step back. I'm like, no, you can't leave us hanging. Like, give us some more. Like, what happened? Like,
right.
That shout out to his. So first of all, Southern always has a great. He does a great job leading the media team. But y'all cameras are like phenomenal. Like, you need to give a whole workshop on what camera and stuff you're using. Those cameras look good, Garrett. Really good. Just want to give you a shout out.
That's what's up. And I see Brother Connor on there. We actually did an interview with him too. We actually also did when I think he was in Chicago. We did a National Signing Day with the school he was at in Chicago. So shout out to him. Shout out to Oscar Wright. And yeah, a lot of people. Like I said, we definitely got a whole community of us. And if you know one person, then you basically know a whole lot of other folks. And so is Rashida Gregory, is she one of the Reds? I think she put Oop
Mm-mm.
Oop. Oh, she's not. Oh, okay. I thought she put on oop
Here
in
we
the chat.
go.
No,
Here we go.
no, Akila Bella is though. Akila's on here. She is. That's my
Oh,
sister.
okay. Shout out to the Reds. I'll always
Let's
shout out to the
go.
Reds.
Shout out to Tau Beta Sigma and to Delta Sigma Theta. Hey.
So that's what's up. So yeah, again, really good show, y'all. I think we can give a round of applause there. Hold on, I'm still getting my sounds together. Here, let me see. There we go. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay. Well, anything else? We'll be sure to update and talk about throughout the year. We'll be back, sure, because I think this format worked out pretty good, and we didn't have too many of the audio difficulties. So again, shout out to you guys. Anything, little sign offs before we end the show, Bridgette?
We love you. Everybody have an amazing week. We'll see you next time. Thank you for your support.
Christy, anything to sign off?
Yeah, we good here. Peace out. Stay safe.
All right. We're coming to the end of our podcast. Check out the marchingpodcast.com. Go to our website and donate if you can. Check us out on YouTube. All your podcast catchers, you can put in the Marching Podcast, and we're across a lot of different venues. So you can find us out if you check us out live. But also, I'm always uploading the individual episodes, just a couple of hours after we do this. So if you just straight audio, you can do that as well. So we appreciate the continued support. That's all the time we have for our show today. Check out the marchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and all the other platforms. Thanks to you for listening. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.
Bye, guys.